Welcome back to another video, and in this video, I'm going to be talking about why Chapter 4 was the best chapter in Fortnite history, and why I think it was the peak of Fortnite. Now, yes, I know there's nostalgia, there's love for Chapter 1, but the loot pool
97.
throughout all of the seasons in Chapter 4 were great. The map
That
was amazing. Easily my
he's
favorite
teammates
map
somewhere down here.
throughout
Oh,
all
I
of the
got him.
seasons.
97.
All the seasons had a unique, fresh map that
97.
was super fun to play on. And again, the loot pools were great. There were so many great items, so
Seven.
many great ARs throughout. There were so many great shotguns. There was fun, unique items. There was fun mobility items with the hammer, the katana. Chapter 4 was a amazing chapter, and I played Chapter 1. I think Chapter 4 is better than Chapter 1.
I don't
Let's
know where
start
it
with
is.
Chapter 4 Season 1.
Oh, there you
We
are.
had a completely new map, and this map was fun. I really enjoyed this map from the beginning. Yes, there was a lack of POIs in the beginning, but honestly, that's kind of why I liked it. It was kind of small, tight, and it played very well. It had great mobility. You could see me using the hammer
There
in
you
that fight there. The hammer was so much fun to use during this chapter. Having double hammer, they had it with 4 charges. Obviously, in this video, it was still 4 charges. Eventually, they nerfed it to be 3 charges. It's also why this is the most amount of crown wins I
Yes!
get in a season was in Chapter 4 Season 1, because I absolutely loved this season. I loved playing solos. This season was so much fun for me. You had the Nimbus
Oh my
Cloud
god, of
and the
course you
Deku
do. Yep.
Smash come into this game again. You had augments. Don't let me forget about augments. Augments were one of the best things they ever added.
There we go.
Augments were so fun. Yes, they weren't like an end all be all item, but there were so many fun things. There was like exotic grab bags. There was the mythic pistol augment. And the pistol,
Thank
like,
you.
this was one of the first times the pistol felt really good in this game. Obviously, they've added more pistols since that feel good. You had the grab and go, which came in later. You had shotgun siphon. You had an extra ammo thing with your AR. Like, could have
Excuse me,
more
bro. What?
shots
I
in
just
your
got absolutely
magazine
fried?
with augments. Augments were so much fun. There were so many fun augments. In this season, you had the bows through an augment. You could get bow
Yes.
related stuff. Now I didn't really use the bows.
You're
I
not
just
wasting
loved
it.
my red eye and my thunder
Yeah.
shotgun and my 2 hammers. I
This is
did
what I'm
move kind of
talking
towards the
about.
Maven towards the end, just because it paired a little bit better with the red eye assault rifle. But this was such a fun season for me. I loved the loot pool. I loved the
This
map.
is just
Everything
it's
about this.
whatever.
Then you had the heisted event, which brought all these fun exotic weapons, and you'll see me use one of them that they added that you may or may not like because it's absolutely busted. The heisted Maven was so good. You'll see me using it in a couple of clips later because they added ways to get it past that heisted event that originated here. They added back key boxes kind of in this season. I used it a lot in Chapter 2. Or in Season 2, I did a lot of videos within Season 2 with just fun challenges like playing in builds or playing only getting key box stuff. And
Let's
with
go!
that, let's move on to Chapter 4, Season 2, Mega City. Such a unique POI. That was what was so great about this map, is there were
No
so
fight.
many POIs that it still felt Fortnite, but it felt so different than what Fortnite had been prior. There was different visuals, there was different colors, everything was colorful. There was so much to like. You had the Mythic Havoc with the 250 pump. That was a little broken. They nerfed it, rightfully so. You had Slurp Juice. You could see me pop a Slurp Juice. Kinda busted this legendary Slurp Juice, but it was a great addition to the game. You had these vaults, like I'm currently in, that gave you the shotgun, the mythic shotgun. It gave you Slurp Juices. And then also you had the island where you could get Slurp Juices, where you could get the Pulse Rifle, which I have a few clips with later in this video. It was such a fun season. Then
Mega.
you had the ODM gear again. So you had the katana,
Get
which was
back
really fun to
here.
use. You had the ODM gear, which was great. They added back the Spider-Man grapples. They added the Star Wars stuff with the Force abilities. I personally didn't like that because
No,
it
this.
definitely made it easier for players to
Okay.
kill you, even if you maybe had more skill than them. But yeah, here's the pulse rifle. Wasn't fully pulse rifle, but the mythics were fun. It was such a great loot
Shut
pool that
up!
I absolutely loved. The Havoc suppressed AR, yes, it wasn't really used because the red eye existed, but honestly, it's not a bad AR. It just has too long of a pullout time. You can see me using the heisted Maven right here, which is such a great shotgun. A little OP, maybe, but it was great for an exotic weapon. The exotic weapons were good. The regular weapons were good. The loot pool was just great. There were so many shotguns in Chapter 4 that were so good for the game. That was so much fun. The Red Eye, easily one of my favorite ARs of all time. Is it the best AR of all time? No, not at all. It probably isn't even a top 3 AR of all time in Fortnite. But it was so much fun to use. It felt fairly balanced. Yes, you could beam people from afar, but it was so fun. The
God.
ODM gear had fallbacks. The katana, eventually they added a new blue one. Now let's move on to Chapter 4 Season 3. This is the little bit of a downslide for this season. This is probably the worst season in this chapter, and there were still great things to love about this chapter. You had the MK Alpha get added, which was such a fun AR. You had the Sharp 2 shotgun, which there will be clips later in this. Yes, you had a lot of explosive stuff with the explosive repeater rifle, the Cybertron cannon. There was a lack of movement. It's the reason why I have 4 bunkers in my inventory right now, is because up until a little bit halfway through the season, you didn't have
176
mobility.
off
You
the
barely
dirt
even
bike.
had shots.
Knocked
The Mammoth
179.
pistol was so amazing. I have so many clips with just the Mammoth pistol that it was so great. Obviously, if you played Reload, if you followed Fortnite TikToks and all that,
Pushing you.
you've seen
Cracked.
plenty of montages and clips with the Mammoth pistol. You see me wearing this skin a lot in a lot of
84.
my Chapter 4 Season 3 gameplay.
84.
Why? I won this skin through a like cup
And
event
I back
through zero
forward.
builds on Europe of all regions. I'm a North American player. I play
Cracked.
on NA
Knocked.
East,
Knocked.
NA
Knocked.
Central for the most part.
Yeah.
And I played on Europe and won this skin on
158.
Europe. It holds a near and dear thing to me. I played a decent amount of creative. Only Up got really popular. Only Up's Fortnite edition became popular.
Knocked him
So
again.
creative definitely took a little bit of a more usage. But yeah, the Mammoth pistol
Knocked
was
him.
so fun. MK Alpha. So
Holy.
yes, it wasn't the best season of all time. There are a lot better other seasons. There's a lot of Chapter 1 seasons I'd put up. There's a Chapter 6 season or two that I'd probably match over this. But as a like lower tier season, it was still fairly fun. There was great movements. The jungle was such a unique map place that you really hadn't seen. Fortnite was trying out so many different and new POIs, new locations, and it felt fun. It felt different. It was great. I absolutely love this map because they took chances. You had the camo cloak.
Tried
That's
him.
why I'm able to see him. I'm not
Pushed
hacking.
out.
But he had like a little purple glow. He gets marked here.
We have a mark.
Barely missed that shot. It was such a fun season that
Got it.
this. Plus, you still have augments. You have the Sharp 2 shotgun get
159.
introduced. It's used more in Chapter 4 Season 4 than
Knocked.
this season because you had the Mythic Drum shotgun, which eventually kind of just stopped being used almost. I don't remember it actually being used that much. I never really
Cracked.
used it because I never really liked it. And then you still had the Havoc Pump, but the Sharp Tooth was so great. It had so much range and was used a ton in Chapter 4 Season 4. This is a season that, I met one of, the players that I still play with the most in Fortnite. And this is the first season we truly played together. We played a little bit in Chapter 4 Season 2, I think, but not much. This was the season where we truly played a lot. And this was still a overall fun season. I still played a lot of Fortnite for this season. Despite it being a little bit of a weaker season, it was still fun. There were still fun items. The Mythic MK Alpha was great. I loved using it. It was a fun gun. There were so many fun ARs, and we're not even getting to the best AR on this list until this next season, which is Chapter 4, Season 4,
Dude, this
where we
pump's
see the
so
best AR
good.
probably out of Chapter 4 with the Twin Mag. Here's me beaming somebody on a tree. This was some kind of streamer. I forget who it is. He had Anonymous on, but I remember looking back and looking at the name. I'm like, oh, I recognize this name. I don't really remember who it was then and there. You had fun items. The ice wall was great. I wish they would add more kind of barrier stuff for zero builds like this. Bunkers are alright, but I think this would be so fun. It's such a unique item. Plus, I think they could get away with doing something like this. Then you have this 1v4 clutch that I have. I have it posted already to all of my socials. I got really hyped here at the end. But I literally have a like 5 minute clip of me just beaming these guys from afar. Some of my teammates were knocked from storm and other reasons. And I ended up 1v4 clutching it. It's why they were fairly weak in the first place, because I was just beaming them. I was frying. I absolutely love this chapter. There are so many moments in this chapter where I would just clutch up for my team because I had the Twin Mag AR. You had a bunch of shocks. You could buy shocks from Tabby Lane. In the same place you could buy a Shockwave hammer. Here's me killing a guy with the kinetic rocks that you kind of forget about that existed since the beginning of this chapter. Again, here's me beaming with a Twin Mag AR. It was such a fun AR. This chapter was so much fun. I have so many great memories from this chapter. The gameplay was fun, and it's the chapter that I would choose to go back to. I like chapter 1. Chapter 1 was great, and it's probably my second favorite chapter. Outside of that, you have chapter 2, which was okay, really kind of fell off to me, and the very beginning seasons were too long, and so there was the issue there. And then chapter 3, I didn't get back into it until halfway through it, and the last season was okay. You had a lot of the weird Evochrome stuff, which was cool, but also the map was kind of just all gray. Colors weren't there, and there was still a lot to love about Fortnite. I honestly wish they went back to what a lot of this chapter 4 was like. There was so much fun movement. There were so many good, fun ARs, and you just don't necessarily see that. Like, look at the current season as I'm uploading this, Chapter 7, Season 3. The ARs suck. You're better off using an SMG or a pistol. That's how bad the ARs are. They aren't good at the moment. And so that's one thing that I think Fortnite can hopefully get back to, is getting back to the Chapter 4 feels. The map right now feels like Chapter 4, but not the loot pull the guns. I don't like the slide. It makes your movement feel weird with crouching and stuff. But I really love Chapter 4. I hope they get back to some of the stuff that worked with Chapter 4. It is easily my favorite chapter. It's the chapter that, if they released an OG version, I would be playing that all day. Probably not all day, you have to have a life. But it is a chapter that I would be excited to come back to. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and I appreciate y'all ranting about why I love Chapter 4.